Hi, I'm Dr. Roy, and I'm glad you found this YouTube video where I talk a little bit about my experience as an international medical graduate in the United States medical licensing exams, the USMLE Step 2. Alright, by no means am I an extraordinary student, and I've been average throughout my medical school. And I'm going to reveal some of my practice test scores before taking the actual Step 2 exam, and you can be a judge of the fact that I have been an average student. So if you're an average student just like me, here are a couple of the pointers that I can give you that could probably help you during the Step 2 exam. Let's dive right in. I took the Step 2 on December 27th, 2024. So just heard back the score a couple of days ago, and I scored a 255. Just to give you a little bit of brief, if you're new to the USMLEs, this is how the Step 2 exam is. So the Step 2 exam is something you take after the Step 1 exam, which is a pass-fail, and ever since it has been a pass-fail exam, there's been more importance given to the Step 2 scores. Of course, I'm preparing for my Step 3 now. I wouldn't say I'm preparing, I'm gonna start preparing. It's always that way. But yeah, so it's a one-day test. It's a one-day exam as compared to a Step 3, which is a two-day exam. You have 8 blocks of 1 hour each. The total duration of this test is 9 hours, including the break time. And you are given like a 15-minute tutorial at the beginning of the test. And if you skip the 15 minutes of the tutorial, it gets added to the 45 minutes of break time. The 45 minutes of break time, which is 45 plus 15, and you get a total break time of 1 hour. I would recommend skipping the tutorial because you would already at that point have taken enough a number of practice tests to sort of expect what's going to happen next and what the platform feels like. I'm going to talk more about how you should utilize your break times and how I did it. Alright, so the number one question that everyone has, people who have taken Step 1 and they're feeling lost, how do I really start preparing and where do I start? Things like that. Well, some of the things that you have to keep in mind is need to have a timeline. So how many months are you going to prepare for this test? Of course, different people are different ways. Some people say that it took them a couple of months. Some people go on even for 6, 7 months altogether. So my story, I've taken the Step 1 in June of 2023, after which I tried to give it as soon as possible, take the Step 2 as soon as possible. I was planning for November, December time frame, but then it so happened that I got a couple of electives during that time and I started on my elective journey. And although I was preparing for Step 2 throughout my electives, I would wake up every morning, I would do a couple blocks. But yeah, so life happens and your plans usually they don't hold up to the timelines. But then it's always good to have a mental timeline and book your date. As soon as you book your one of the most important things that everyone talks about, and I would sort of resonate with the same thing, is just book your date so that you have a mental timeline, a mental deadline for you to prepare to. So how many months is definitely the first question you should be asking yourself if you finish Step 1. um, of course, you also want to consider what specialty you want to go in, and does your specialty demand sort of a higher step score. I am planning to get into general surgery, so what I've heard is an average score is good enough for general surgery. And internal medicine, especially if you're an IMG, the competition is definitely on the rise. Although on both ends of the spectrum, at higher scores or lower scores, you still get interviews, and it's more of a personal how your application stands and how well balanced it is. The score is definitely one of the things that they're looking for. So you also want to factor in the practice tests, the NBMEs and the UWSAs that you need to take. And other priorities, that is your electives. So my Step 2 got delayed because of my electives, and I wanted to take the Step 2 after my electives, which would be around June, July of 2024. But then it so happened I got a research position that they wanted me early into, and then I went into the research position. Although I was planning to take this Step to June, July of 2024, it again got delayed, and I started on my research position, and then I prepared during my research position and took this Step 2 finally in December of 2024. So it took me more than a year's time to sort of finish up preparing and give the test finally. So yeah, so research is definitely one of the things that caused my delay, and life stuff, just general life stuff. All right. So what resources did I use? One of the important questions that everyone asks is, what resources did you really use to take the test? And now this is a very tricky question because different people use different resources. So here are some of the resources that I used, and I would vouch for it because it helped me, even though I was very on and off during my preparation. I did not have so much of a dedicated period per se. I just took 1 week off of work to take the step 2, and I just took it because I was like, I need to get this out of the way. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. So the resources that worked for me, I would rephrase as definitely the UWorld. That was sort of the first things that I began solving. I would have a personal goal of 1 block a day. That sort of created the discipline of solving and finishing the UWorld Q Bank. And if you're someone who wants to start on the step 2 journey, I would recommend just to get started on a rhythm of solving that 1 block a day. That builds discipline. That helps you finish your first pass of the UWorld. And yeah, so by the time my research year, my UWorld subscription was over, and I didn't want to spend more money on UWorld just to go back again and do the same questions. So the next thing I did was Amboss. So the Amboss subscriptions somewhat comes free at my university that I'm doing research at, so I didn't have to pay for a subscription, and that really helped me lower my costs. And again, I wouldn't buy another round of UWorld subscription. So I finished 50% of Amboss. I'm going to tell you how much I averaged on these so that you get a perspective of where I'm coming from, right? Next thing I did was, while doing Amboss, I was also looking at the Divine Intervention podcast notes. A lot of people look at the lectures, but I am not a person who likes to look at lectures, and it's just something that I don't learn well from. I like reading notes. I like highlighting things. I like revising things from there. Here are some of the really important episodes that are like a must watch. Now, I must tell you this, that although I did look at all of these episodes, I did finish all of them. I also went ahead and did a couple more episodes which I thought would be useful, and they were really useful. As much of Divine Intervention podcast you can do, I would suggest you to do them. One of the most important things that we missed is the CMS forms, and of course you don't have to do all of those CMS forms. These are a great starting point. So all 4 of PEDS, I'm talking about the last 4 CMS forms, 4 of surgery, 4 of OBGYN, 4 of neuro, 4 of IM, and 3 of psych, and 2 of family medicine. These are the ones that I did. And so since my preparation was so on and off, I had done the CMS forms somewhere around June or July of 2024. Just to give you a reminder, I took the test in December of 2024. CMS forms I did back in June, July, and I had all of the notes and revisions and all of the things that I made mistakes on saved in my computer. And I did sort of revise them before taking the test. I didn't go and solve the CMS forms again. I did them once, and I made notes out of those, and I revised them before taking the step 2. I also revised my DIP, your Divine Intervention podcast notes. I think they are really, really super high yield. When it comes to the mistakes from UWorld and Amboss, I did not repeat my incorrects. I didn't have time to do that. All right. So here's some of the mistakes I was making during prep that I think would resonate even with some of the other step 2 prep gurus. These are some of the things that it boils down to. What I used to do is, whenever I made a mistake in sort of my question solving approach, and again, step 2 is less of an information game of how much you know or the knowledge you have. Of course, you should have a baseline good enough knowledge, but it's more of a how you approach the questions with. And I'm pretty sure you can approach, if you have a sound approach towards solving questions, you can get most of the questions correctly. You don't even need to know the correct answer. It's just how you approach the questions So whenever I made mistakes in my approach towards the question, of course, if I didn't know the information and I made a mistake, I would count that as a mistake. But if I made a mistake in sort of approaching the question, and I would write those down in little sticky notes and I would put them on my wall so that it's a constant reminder of how what things I should change about my question solving approach. The step 2, like I said, not an information game, more of a question solving approach. It just tests if you are a sound question solver. It's also a test of your stamina because it's a 9-hour long exam. So you sort of have to build up the question solving approach and your stamina, because at the end of the day, so during my when I went into the test center, I was on autopilot. I don't even know what I did or how I did when I came out. So I was more on autopilot. I went in, switched on my autopilot question solving approach, and I just scarred through the questions. And yeah, I just spent the 9 hours there and just got out not even knowing what's going on. So that is a real big possibility. So here are some of the mistakes that I made during my prep. Overthinking simple questions. So I, coming from the background of the Indian tests, right? Your NEET UG, your NEET PG, those questions sometimes really try to trick you into making the wrong option. But step 2 is a really simple exam. They're not trying to trick you. They're just trying to see if you know what's right from wrong, right? And just believe in the simplest answer to be the right answer. So do not overthink simple questions. The answer is most often than not the simplest answer. Yeah. So another thing was not reading the question slowly and entirely. So what I would do in the beginning versus the end. So during the beginning of my preparations, I realized that I would just read through the question really fast and lose out on certain bits and pieces of information, like things that I would consider as not important, like their medication history, for example, or their past medical history, or their age, which is like really important. Yeah, so some of the things, and go through the question really. I know it's a timed exam, and you more often than not are looking at the timer and you're going like, do I even have time to read the entire question? But make sure the first time you're reading the question, be thorough, be really slow, highlight the things that are important. Everything that you think is important, just highlight them, because when you're going back to the question, you need to be seeing those bullet points sort of ready in front of your eyes, right? So read through the question slowly, highlight important bits. I was not highlighting important bits during the preparation phase, and that is something I really saw was affecting my scores. As soon as I started doing these, I really noticed a jump in my score, and I'm gonna tell you about the how I scored in my practice test, and you're gonna see that for yourself. Before going to the question, read the last line of the question first, basically what the question is all about, so that you can view the entire question from the lens of that last line. And eliminate other options. This is really important. You need to eliminate options. You need to follow these pointers. You have to follow these pointers, because these are sort of the foundation of a sound question solving approach that you can use even if you don't know what the right answer is. And I personally believe that every step 2 question is solvable if you use the sound approach. So eliminate the other options, and don't just so one of the mistakes that I made while eliminations as well is I would eliminate them really grossly without really having a sound logic behind that. You should have a sound logic to eliminate an option. If you're left with the last final 2 options, try to sort of look at the question again and make up your mind of which one you're trying to eliminate. So during my test, during my step 2 exam, how I felt the exam was, many of the questions you would be able to eliminate all of the options except the last 2, and I was always confused between the last 2 options. But sort of again, here's where the instinct of solving the questions comes in, and I think that is something that can only be built by solving more questions. I solved a bunch of NBMEs. I think that really helped. All right, so here's some things you should not forget. Yeah. So even in terms of the resources that you want to use, here are some things you should not absolutely forget. So ethics and biostats and 100 high yield and amboss is a gold mine. You're definitely not supposed to miss out on that one. Lots of ethics questions, lots of biostats questions, lots of high yield questions from the 100 high yield. It's just like a quick revision. It serves as a quick revision before your test. That was some of the things that I did last 2 3 days that I had left. Like I said, it's a mental game. It's not about knowledge, but question solving approach and stamina. Definitely a lot of stamina, because 9 hours you need to build up to that 9 hours by taking more practice tests, etc. So exam day mental status, you need to have a great sleep. Well, I say that really easily because I sleep pretty easily. I don't have problems sleeping, but I realize that there's a lot of people who have problems sleeping, and it's just you game this out throughout the last few weeks and sort of build up a proper sleep schedule so that you don't go into the exam sleep deprived. That is really important. This is really important to take breaks after every block. This is super important. It's a game of stamina. You don't want to be, wow, someone's getting shot. It's a game of stamina. You don't want to be approaching a block and then be like, yeah, I think I have it in me to take another block, and then you're fatigued the first 10 questions of the second block. You need to take breaks. So what I did was, after each block, I would go out, sip on the coffee that I brought in my sort of Stanley cup, and I would bite into my freaking protein bars that I bought like 4 protein bars, and I finished every single one of them by the end of the test. I would nibble on my protein bars, have a little bit of water, go to the bathroom, take a leak, and I would also stretch. And every block, I can, like, during my step one, this is something, some of the mistakes I made. I remember that some of the blocks I was really sleepy, but this time I was not sleepy at all during step two, because I was always stretching, I was always going to the bathroom, taking my breaks. Get it over with. This is something you don't want to keep carrying on for months and months altogether. Book your date. Book your date. If you're not booking your date, you're not going to be done with the exam. I only became serious when I booked my date. Now, I had second thoughts. I was not scoring so well in my practice tests, but I doubled down and I booked the date. Stay away from Reddit. There's a bunch of posts who are like, oh, I got 270, will I match into IM? Like, you don't need to be carrying all of that negativity and vibe with you. Stay away from Reddit. Use Reddit only if you think that you really need help. Sometimes Reddit can be useful. Don't go out there looking at scores, what other people are doing. Don't stop comparing. Yeah. So this is what my personal journey has been so far. Like I told a little bit about this before, I took this step one in June, July of 2023. Wanted to take it in the next 6 months, but electives came in the way. Wanted to take it again in July 2024, but the research position, I got a research position here at Alabama, University of Alabama. I had to come early too, so that I don't miss the deadlines on a couple of conferences. And yeah, so I took the step 2 in December of 2024, I'm sorry, December 2024. While doing my research, I just took 1 week of just 1 week dedicated during Christmas holidays, so that I don't miss out on some of the research work. But it worked out, I guess. I scored a 255. 255. Amboss predicted. I'll tell you what Amboss, the score predictor from Amboss predicted, but I sort of outdid that, which I'm really proud about. So here's why I keep calling myself an average student, because I have pretty average stats when it comes to my prep phase. Because I know all my some of my friends, they were scoring in the 80%, 60%, 70% in their U-Word and Amboss. My U-Word average was just 55%, and Amboss average was 58%. The thing that really made me get out of this slump was, I sat down with one of my friends who scored really well as well. He scored like a 258. He sat down with me and we did this one block where he would fix my question solving approach. The step 2 is totally about the question solving approach. If you sort of follow the points that I told you about here, about this is something that I want you to take away from this video. This is something that's really important, because the step 2 is all about the question solving approach. It's not about how much you know. And yeah, you're supposed to be eliminating options, read the question slowly, highlight important points, and you can arrive at an answer even if you don't know the answer. So yeah, so I've been an average student during my prep, 55%, 58% on AMBOSS. So I took a bunch of tests. UWSA 1, I took it in October. 203, I didn't even make the passing cut. Then I took the NPME 10, 251, huge jump. When I got to 203, it got me thinking, what am I doing wrong? So I solved the, sort of tried to fix my question solving approach with my friend. And I did that a couple of times to arrive at sort of the fine tuned version of how you solve every question. USA 3, 218, very poor, very poor, very poor. It was like I was jumping in between tests. So 203, 251, 218, 240, and then 215. Like, I'm at this point not sure what I'm doing right or wrong. But then I decided, well, if it's going to be this way, I might as well give the test, because I can't keep carrying the pressure of having to take a test again and again, right? So 251, 230, 246, this is where I got some of my confidence. I booked my date. I booked my date around here, actually. I booked my date on December 27th. AMBOSS predicted my score to be 244. My real score was 255. So the thing I want you to take away from this is just keep working on your tests. Just give the practice tests. Don't worry about what AMBOSS is predicting or what your individual scores are. As long as there's a trend, of you improving, just know that you will do good in the actual exam. Just take the test anyways. Some of the things that helped me is discipline. Like I said, start with a block a day. A block a day is an easily achievable target. Have something that's easily achievable. Don't deviate from the plan. Although it's very hard to stick to a plan, I can't stick to plans. I don't make plans. That's why I just make like short-term goals that I need to hit every day. A block a day is really important. Have daily goals like the block a day, which again builds your discipline. Just power through, take the test. Don't worry about it. Just get it away. Just get it over with, and don't think too much about the outcome. I don't stress too much about it. I realize that there are people who do, and it's inevitable. But just try to not think about the fact that this defines your career, because it really doesn't. There's so many things that really define your life than a stupid test. So just know that this is not the end of anything, and stick to your habits like you usually do. If you go to the gym, like me, go to the gym. I practice a lot of music. Do the work that you're doing. It's possible to be doing other things and also take this test, as long as you have a solid routine and discipline that you stick to. I just took a week of dedicated period. This should just show you the fact that it's possible if you're doing it the right way and if you're focusing on the right things. So, alright, thank you for making it this far. I really enjoyed walking you guys through how I prepared for step 2. And yeah, just leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe I'll put a Google Drive link for a form. If you guys are interested in taking mentorship for step 2, I am really happy to help you or guide you through the mentorship process. And thank you guys again for joining.